Welcome to Author Life Podcast, where myself and guest authors share their stories, offer tips and advice, and share our writing, publishing, and marketing knowledge. I'm your host, Delcherie Gladden. Welcome back to Author Life Podcast. This week on the show, we're going to be talking about marketing. And this is something that I've been trying to work on myself and kind of get back in gear and get things going again after taking some time off. It's something that I think a lot of authors struggle with and are always trying to keep up with things and figure out new routes. But this episode, we're going to talk about getting the basics set up. Where should you start, whether that's starting as a brand new author or rebuilding some of your marketing plans and platforms? The main topics that we're going to look at in this episode are developing an author platform, creating a marketing plan, carrying out ongoing marketing, developing a website if you don't already have one, and some tips on using social media effectively. And as we break those down, some of the other topics that we'll get into within that are going to be things like creating some timelines for your marketing campaigns, creativity that you really need to tap into with your marketing, persevering as you go through working on marketing and trying not to drown in it, learning from anything that doesn't quite go right, and then improving on your next go around. We'll also talk about some online and in-person avenues for marketing now that in-person is really starting to open back up for the most part. How to budget to meet your marketing goals, and that may be money or time, just kind of where to put your focus and your efforts. And then I'll go into just kind of a real brief overview of some free versus paid advertising options. So first, let's dive into the author platform, what that is and how to get started on building one. So if you are a new author and you're not sure when you should start, basically now. It's never too early to start building your author platform and start growing and developing your marketing base. So we're going to look at really what that means, and as you start building your author platform, how to actually make use of it. What is an author platform? It's basically your public face as a writer. It's your brand as an author, and you really want to be careful of making a mistake that a lot of first-time authors or new writers make when they're starting out. They build their platform around their book rather than around themselves. Because a lot of authors tend to be introverts. We don't really like to, sell ourselves to other people. It always feels awkward and weird. And I totally get that because I feel the same way. But when you start building your platform around a book instead of you as a writer, when you have another book, you kind of have to start all over again. If you build your brand as an author instead, all of your books fall under that brand as products, and you as the brand remains constant. And that makes it much easier for your readers to remember you rather than trying to, reestablish their interest with each new book. So when you're first getting started, you want to set up your social media accounts and your fan pages under your author name instead of your book or the series name. And this is just going to save you from trying to manage multiple accounts or pages. That gets very time consuming very quickly. And it also is going to help you just be easier to find if all they have to do is search for your name rather than each individual book to find the different social media accounts. Your author platform is going to represent you as an expert in your field. And that may sound intimidating if you are newly starting out on this, but you are an expert in your product, in your book, your writing, what you're doing as an author. So even if you don't quite feel like an expert in writing or publishing in general, you are an expert in your writing and what you are putting out there into the world. And a lot of writers can balk at this idea of putting themselves out there as an expert. And a lot of the times it's because many of us writers feel like we fit that, meme of, a writer knows a little bit about everything, but is a master of nothing. We research a topic just enough to make it believable in a story, not necessarily to really know all the ins and outs of it. But the truth is, just remember that you are an expert of your book and your characters, and that's a good starting point to be an expert. As you grow as an author, you may develop that expertise in different areas as well that you want to build into your platform. But when you're first starting out, just focus on setting yourself up as the expert on your writing and your products. Now, an author platform also means that this is where you're going to share your message with your target audience. Just like, any name brand that you can think of has their accounts, they have their logo, they have really things that are really identifiable with their brand. That's kind of what you as an author are working on, whether you have like an actual logo or you're just putting your name out there as your brand. That works as well. And the more fans that you accumulate, the more quickly and easily you can disseminate information about you and your books and things that you have going on to an already interested audience. An author platform also tells readers what makes your work unique. You really want to work on building a platform that reflects your personality and the various aspects of your writing that makes you different and sets you apart from other writers. So if you're writing in a genre that is very popular, that's going to be especially important because you want to stand out from other, paranormal authors or Regency era romances, whatever it is you're writing in. Help your readers understand why you have something unique to offer them. An author platform also implies a promise of quality. Really try to make sure that you're always putting out high quality products, images, information, whatever you're sharing, that it meets a standard that you're going to set for your platform. You want to present yourself online as a professional and release professional quality work. Even in just, tweets and Facebook status updates, that sort of thing, decide where that level of professionalism is going to be for you and really stick with it. An author platform also says something about you as an author. What keeps you writing? What fills your spare time? If you actually have any, make sure that you're sharing more than just your books. You can share about your writing process or your experiences in publishing. Just remember that you're building a community with your platform, not just a customer base. So you really don't want to have it just being, buy this, buy that all the time. Really try to engage with your readers and make them a part of your writing journey. So what exactly does an author platform do for you once you start building it? It really gives authors an opportunity to show their personality to their readers. And in today's world, everything is so interconnected. Readers want to know their favorite writers as people. That's really important to them that they have this added layer that goes along with their reading experience and to have some sort of insight into the person who wrote these books that they're enjoying. Your author platform also helps foster relationships with readers, and it can turn your casual fans into super fans who are really going to help promote you and your work. And friendships are also going to develop, which can help authors feel a lot more engaged with the reading community, because writing can be kind of solitary and lonely at times. It's really neat to be able to help build this community around what you're doing and have that support. Your platform's also going to help establish your expertise, as I said, as an author, a writer, and in whatever other areas of knowledge you have to share. It doesn't even have to be writing related per se. A lot of writers will share some of their personal interests and hobbies as well to help build that engagement and community. But on the more writing side, for example, if you write police procedurals, you might share some of your research or how you go about researching various cases. A lot of writers find that really interesting and engaging. Or if you write a character who likes to cook, you might share some recipes. Mysteries, cozy mysteries around food tend to be really popular, and I've seen quite a few authors who will either put recipes in the book or share a lot of cooking related information on their social media. And this just helps really create a world for your readers that they can explore with you. You can also use your platform to help build communication with readers and open up opportunities to get feedback, help, and even encouragement when you need it. Because we all hit those times where we feel like our writing's terrible and nothing's going right. And being able to engage with your readers at that point can be a really great source of encouragement to keep going. And also, many writers get really bogged down with deadlines. Maybe you just get stuck at some point in your story and you aren't sure how to work your way through to the next scene. Or, it might just be life stuff too. That gets really overwhelming. And not that you maybe necessarily want to share every detail of your personal life, but, letting your readers know sometimes, like, hey, I've got some things going on. I may not be writing as much or whatever. That can just help them see you as more of a real person and develop that friendship and engagement with them. Just overall, you want to just focus on the fact that you can use that author platform to create a community with your readers, but also with other writers. Because like I said, writing can get really lonely sometimes. And especially, coming out of COVID, there's a lot more element of loneliness. A lot more of us are at home, even more than maybe we were before. So really, try to use your platform to gather similarly minded book lovers and talk about what you love about books and reading and writing and engage with them. And lastly, your author platform can really just help you build your visibility and extend your reach as an author. And the more you build your author platform, the more eyes you're going to have on your books. And if you're engaging regularly and encouraging your readers to do the same, that's really going to welcome people into the group and make them feel like they're a part of it. And then those readers are going to be more likely to invite others to join the group or join the discussion about how much they enjoy the books and just how much they enjoy participating in the group even. So really just, try to focus on using your author platform to build that community of interested readers rather than just gathering a group of people that you can sell your books to. Because in the long run, the more interested and engaged fans you have, the more they're going to help promote your work to other people. And then, ultimately that will increase sales. What makes up an author platform? You might be wondering at this point, and that is a very good question. So we're going to go over a few things that you may not need every single piece, but you want to think about them and see which ones work for you and where you want to incorporate the different aspects into your author platform. So the basic elements of an author platform that you want to think about are going to be your website, the reach of your social media accounts, having an email newsletter list, the connections that you build with other industry professionals, your relationships with the media, the community of readers that you build, and your presence and interaction with the public, whether that's online or in person. And an author platform is measured by your ability to use those aspects of your platform to not only sell books, but to boost and further your career over time. Now, with so much of a platform being online, you want to really consider the visual elements of your author platform as you're starting to put everything together. So when you're developing your website, your graphics, your social media pages, you really want to try to make sure that your visual elements paint a picture of you and your work. Take some time to consider how to best represent your personality and your writing style and the genre that you're writing in. You want to look at colors and choose colors that are going to match your personality as well as your genre. For example, if you're writing, really dark, gritty paranormal, maybe, bright pinks and aquas and things like that wouldn't quite match that genre. So you want to kind of pair up your genre, all the elements of what makes up you and your writing as a whole, and try to build a consistent color scheme that you can use across most of the platforms. Some you can customize, some you can't. And as you do that, that's just going to help you consider how to best represent your personality. And as you're thinking about those colors in pairing you and your writing, don't force yourself to use colors that you don't like. just because maybe they do match with your genre a little bit more. Try to think outside the box a little bit. For example, if you write sweet contemporary romance, but you despise the color pink, don't use it. That's fine. Consider some other softer and inviting colors that you don't mind looking at every time you open up your website, but that also match with the genre as well. When you're choosing images, you want to use the same author photo and depending on whether you do a logo or not, on all your platforms. So you want to create that sense of consistency that when someone is looking you up, like maybe just as a Google search of your name, they're going to see that same photo come up everywhere. And that's going to help them know these are all connected. And it just creates a sense of reliability. There's always, fake accounts and stuff like that pops up. And you can't always prevent that because they can duplicate stuff. But it is going to help the reader feel more confident if all of your media accounts look the same, have the same feel, are pretty consistent in general. So the style of your platform as well, you want that to match your personality. So if you're like a dark paranormal author, but you also like a little bit of humor, you can find ways to add some lighter elements through your posts or possibly even your design if you have that ability to customize your social media or your website or even your newsletter. If you're more of a really serious, thoughtful person, posting funny memes about writing might not fit the style that you're going for. So you really just want to, think about how you want to portray your genre, your writing, and your personality on your various platform pieces. So when you're planning the overall design of your author platform, make sure that your websites and social media accounts are easy to navigate, as well as giving some insight into your personality. If it's just too complicated, that can frustrate readers and just cause them to click away somewhere else. Most of your social media sites that you're going to use are going to take care of that for you. They already have, their setup built in. You can't change a lot of that. But when it is possible to customize, try to make sure that you're adding the most helpful and logical tabs or buttons to make it easy for readers to either contact you or make a purchase or sign up for a newsletter, whatever you're focusing on. Now, the next aspect to consider is having an author tagline or a slogan. So this is one that it's not absolutely necessary. Some writers use them, others do not. So it's kind of up to your preference and up to whether you can come up with a good one, honestly. If you can't and it's just more stress than it's worth, then maybe just skip it for now. A tagline or a slogan is going to give readers a sense of who you are as a writer or what your expertise or experience is. And it's not just about genre. If you're kind of starting out new and all you've got so far is, hey, this is the genre I write in, that's totally fine. But that may develop over time and you want to revisit it occasionally and see if you can improve upon that. When you're trying to come up with an author tagline or a slogan, you want to focus on recognition. So you're going to choose images and colors that stand out because it's not just about the words, it's about the visual look of it as well. And you want it to be really easy to interpret and remember. And it should give context to help readers remember you and your work because of the word choice, the color, the symbols, the images. You want to make it memorable rather than just using your name or stating this is the genre I write in. Because like I said, that may be all you have at first, and that's fine. But just keep looking at it, seeing where you can improve on it, where you can add some personality, where you can show who you are a little bit more. You want to try to use it to categorize you and your work with a short description of what you write and why you write it. This is one that you can just kind of Google search images, author logos, author slogans, see what some other people have come up with. There's some really great examples, and it can give you some ideas for what you might want to do with your tagline or slogan. So once you kind of start getting your pieces together or you figure out which ones you want to focus on first, then we're going to actually start building it. And just start with the basics. Don't try to do everything all at once because that's going to get really overwhelming. Just pick the ones that you think are going to be the most useful and the most beneficial to you and focus on those first. You can always add things later. And we're going to go into some specifics on how to attack each of these areas. If there's one that you're not quite ready for, that's fine. You can always come back to it later. So the first thing that we're going to start with is a website. And you may be thinking, wasn't a Facebook page enough? If I'm focusing on building community, what is a website doing for that? Websites are still important even with how prolific social media is right now. It's essential to your author platform because it serves as a one-stop platform for all the information about you and your books. It's really hard to have everything all together in one place on a social media account because those just aren't what they're built for. A website is going to do a better job of condensing everything and making it easy to find all the information. And it doesn't have to be elaborate or expensive, but you do want it to look nice, look professional, and be really easy to navigate as well. And as part of your website, this is where you also want to look at integrating your email list once you have that set up, because your email list is going to be a critical component of building your overall platform. Because an email list, rather than, Facebook deciding who sees your posts and who doesn't, your email list is a ready and interested audience that you control, that you can send to whenever you want, and those emails are going to be delivered. And you can reach them directly. So you do want to start building your email list as early as possible, even if you're not published yet, and then using that, integrating it into your website to capture more interest is going to be really important as well. Now, social media is where a lot of authors can get super overwhelmed, especially if you're not a big social media person to start with. Don't try to join every social media platform. There's way too many of them. And you're never going to have time to post on all of them. Start with one if that's where you're at, but maybe, 2 to 3 max, because you want to learn how to use them and figure out which ones you actually like using before you really just sink all that time and energy into building them. Now, with social media, one of the first ones that you might think of is probably going to be Facebook. A lot of people are familiar with Facebook, so that's an easy one to start with. But you do want to make sure that you're setting up a page, not using your personal profile for all of your marketing. Sharing something on your profile occasionally is fine, but as you're setting up Facebook to use it as a business and to promote your books and build a following, you want to do that through a page. Facebook can get upset with you if you're using a personal profile to promote your business. It's kind of hit or miss on who they'll actually go after for doing that. But it's best just to do it the right way from the beginning so you don't risk having your account, suspended or something like that. But with most social media accounts are going to work best for you. Really depends on just what tends to work best for authors in your genre and your target audience, what age groups you're looking at. And then also just which ones you actually like using or, find easy to use. If you hate using a specific type of social media, don't use it. It's not the end of the world if you're not on Facebook. There's probably something else out there that you're going to enjoy using and be able to build a community with better. And the next thing you want to think about is setting up profiles on retailer and book-related websites. This is going to help give you some more avenues to make your work visible, to gain followers, to participate in promotions, to have chances to interact with new readers. And a lot of these sites really require little or even no engagement once you're set up. They're just kind of a passive thing, but they can still provide a lot of exposure and promotion benefits just by taking those few minutes to go set them up the first time. And if this sounds like a lot, it can be a bit time consuming to go through and start getting everything ready for your author platform. But it really is important to have an online presence where the readers and industry professionals can find you really easily and contact you. And, for the most part, with the exception of, major social media, you're not really going to have to put in a ton of time once you have everything up and running. And even with social media, that's going to be figuring out a schedule of when to post. So the time you put in, maybe a little bit at the beginning may feel a little overwhelming, but it is going to pay you back over time with, gaining those followers, having those avenues to promote and reach out to readers. And like I said, social media does require more regular engagement, and we'll talk a little bit more about how to do that later. But the benefit of working on and building those social media profiles and accounts is that it really does help build community and help you, just have some support along the way and have those advertising avenues for, things like paid advertising. Okay, so back to your author website. We're going to go into a little bit more detail on that now. So if you do not have a website, if you're not sure where to start, then this is going to be, just kind of a quick and dirty rundown of how to get going with an author website. So the first thing that you want to think about is, what do you want your website to do? What is its purpose going to be? And once you determine that, that's going to help you decide how to start building it and what elements you want to include in your website. Now, one of the first things that you're going to have to do before setting up an author website is you're going to have to choose a domain name, and it should be easy to type and easy to remember. And a .com ending is always going to look more professional and credible than, .wordpress, .blogger, .wix, whatever service you're using. So it is worth the, $10 to $20 a year to have your own domain name with a .com address. It's also a good idea to choose a domain name that is close to your author name or your pen name. This is going to make it a lot easier for readers to remember, and in most cases, it's easier to type as well. So if you have a name that is really difficult to spell, though, you might consider an alternative, like maybe using just your first name or your last name and pair that with, author or books or whatever. If you plan to write a blog, look at if your hosting site actually includes that and how easy it is to use and manage the blog. And it's going to save you a lot of time and energy if you incorporate your blog and your website together, which is very easy with most providers now. If you're trying to manage both of those separately, again, it's just more time consuming and it can get overwhelming. And then on your website, you want to find a way to tie all of your social media accounts into the website with follow buttons and hopefully with auto sharing of any blog posts if you are going to do some blogging as well. The more everything is integrated, the easier it's going to be for you to manage your various accounts and just disseminate information more quickly. Now, the next step is going to be choosing a website host. And there are a lot of them out there, and I'm not going to go into each one specifically. That's just going to take way too much time. But I do want to give some tips on what to look for. I think one of the most important things when deciding which website host to use is finding one that matches your technological skill. If you are great with computers, maybe know a little bit of programming, probably anything is going to be super easy for you. If you are not a technological person, have no clue about any sort of programming or coding at all, then there's going to be some that are not going to work very well for you. So hosts like WordPress.org allow for HTML coding and take a different level of understanding and expertise with that. But a lot of other website hosts just have easy drag and drop systems that require absolutely no knowledge of programming or anything even close to that. So, and then there's, of course, a range in between those two extremes. So if you're not very knowledgeable about coding or doing a lot of technical things with websites, probably WordPress.org is not going to be for you, or you may just want to hire someone to do that portion for you. If you don't really need a lot of customized features and you can use just basic, simple system of a lot of WordPress or other host sites, then that's probably going to be absolutely fine for what you need. You also want to look for a host that has a good variety of templates and customizations and different plugins that you might find useful. Templates are nice because it can really give you a professional look for your website without having to invest a lot of time and effort into it. And as long as you can customize a template to make it a little bit your own, maybe change some colors, add some different features or plugins so it doesn't look like every other website on that host's network, that's going to help, make you just stand out a little bit more. Some of the plugins that you might want to look for are how to integrate your mailing list. If you're going to do any offering of selling books through your website, you may need a shopping function. You're definitely going to want a contact form of some kind, and then you really want to integrate your social media accounts as well. So as you're looking at various hosts, just try to consider what other benefits they're going to provide as well. So you may want to look for someone that, has some included search engine optimization, really good customer service, especially if maybe you're not super technological and you might need some help. Mobile-friendly designs, because a lot of people do all of their online exploring and browsing on a mobile device. So it's really important that your website works on a phone or tablet as well. And then just, see what add-ons are available and what is going to be helpful for you. So some of the popular ones that you might want to check out, Wix, WordPress.com, not .org. That one's the one that requires programming and a lot more knowledge. Things like Weebly or Squarespace. There's really a lot of them out there, and there are always good comparisons on various blogs to see cost versus features, customer service, all of that. Once you do choose a website host and you have that figured out, then you're going to start actually building the components of your website. So one of the first things, of course, you're going to have is your homepage. This is your landing page where readers are going to come first when they type in your web address. And this is going to be where they can access all of the basic information about you and your books. But, even though you're going to start with your homepage, it's not necessarily the most important page on your website. So you don't want to cram everything into your homepage. You want to keep it simple and make sure that the navigation is easy to get to any of the other pages. The average visitor to a website only spends 1 to 2 minutes on a website as a whole. So it's really important that you maximize that time by making it really easy to get around and really easy to find what they're looking for. So on your homepage, the things that I recommend that you definitely include are going to be links to your books, social media follow buttons, some sort of reader welcome letter, or a really brief introduction to you and your writing. Definitely make sure that the navigation system is easy to see and easy to use. And then you also want a clear indication of who the owner of the website is. So, you as an author, that's you. You want to make sure that you are the identifiable person responsible for not only the website, but the books and any other products on there. So the website that you're building, as you're picking what pages to include and how to lay it out, remember that you're not building it for you, you're building it for your readers. So you want to make sure that you're providing them with the information that they're looking for and that it's really easy to find. Some of the other pages that you're probably going to want to include is a bio or an about page. And this is going to include your longer, kind of more official bio. Again, put in your social media links and any other platforms that readers can find you on. And you might also want to include a link to your newsletter sign-up form here as well. You're also going to want a books and or products page, and this is going to list your books in order. So if you have a series, you want to make it very clear what order the reader should read the books in the series in. And I always try to point this out because this is the main reason that readers go to an author's website, which always kind of surprises people. But, most of the time, those readers are trying to figure out what order to read your books in, not necessarily anything else, because most other information is also going to come up in a Google search. So just keep that in mind. If you write series, make sure that it's very clear and easy to figure out what order they should read your books in. If you have a large backlist of books, you might want to break your books into individual series pages so you don't have 45 books all on one page, because that can be a little bit overwhelming to sort through. The next page, this one is optional, just depending on what you plan to do. If you are going to blog, you want to make sure that your blog is easy to follow, that it allows comments, and preferably that it will auto-share to all your social media accounts every time you post a blog. If you're not sure if you want to blog or you don't think it's something that you're going to keep up with regularly, skip the blog. Blogs that haven't had a post in 2 years are really sad and don't come off as very professional. So unless you're committed to blogging on a regular schedule, it's probably best to just not have a blog at all. The next thing that you want to include in one of your pages is a contact page. And you usually want to use a form, and most website providers have integrations where you can easily build a form for people to contact you. I don't advise posting your personal email and phone number on your website. You'll get a lot of spam or just really weird stuff. And you really just protect your privacy. A form is going to simplify the process a lot. And then you can set where that form is going to email any correspondence to. And usually readers are a lot more willing to contact an author through a form than directly emailing them, because if that's the first time they're trying to reach out to you, that does feel very personal. And a form can take down that barrier, so they'll reach out to you with their thoughts or comments or suggestions or whatever without feeling quite as intimidated. Next page you want to think about is a newsletter sign up. And so this is once you've actually set up your email list with a provider, they're going to show you how to integrate that, or at the very least, give you the link to the sign up form for people to fill it out. So depending on which service you're using, that'll look a little bit different. But you do want to set up a form through your email list provider once you have that going, and either provide the link to that form, or if possible, integrate the form directly into your website. And just make sure that the form is really simple and easy to fill out. You should only ask for really basic information. Name and email address is most common. Don't want to make your reader feel like you're trying to drag out all their personal information, or they're not going to fill out the form. And the last one that I wanted to mention is also optional, just depending on what you plan to do. But if you're going to be out in the community or attending things, setting up any sort of talks or discussions, you may want to have an appearances or events page. And this is a page where you can announce any events that you're going to be attending, workshops, Comic-Cons, book signings, that sort of thing. You can also give information about how an organization can request for you to come give a talk or make an appearance. You should list any fees that you're going to charge, or what areas you're able to make appearances, such as if you're not able to travel long distances for appearances, that known on that page. Now, the next part of working on your website is going to be coming up with a design. So if you're starting off with a template, you want to find one that's nice and clean looking, simple, and really just easy to use. Make sure that the layout is super easy to navigate and that the menu is visible right off the bat. And usually that's going to be like at the top of the page or in a sidebar. And either one is fine. Just make sure it's really easy to locate and use. And then make sure that your website, again, is optimized for mobile use. Most providers now do this automatically, and you don't have to do anything special to, design it a second time just for mobile users. But make sure that you take a look at whatever is automatically configured and make sure that it looks professional and that it's still easy to use on a mobile device. And then make sure that you're using some eye-catching images. But be careful that you're only using images that you own the rights to or that are copyright free. And if you're not sure where to get that, there are some great sites out there. Some of them are paid sites like Adobe Stock Images or Deposit Photos. But you might also check out Pixabay, which is free to download the images there. When they're uploaded as available for copyright free use. And then you also want to provide just useful content and update your blog or your website frequently when you have new books out, attending something different, having a sale, that sort of thing. Just make sure you're utilizing that as much as possible. Now, if you do decide to go ahead and have a blog, just remember that first piece of advice that I offered is that you should only set up a blog if you are really committed to blogging on a regular basis. And this doesn't have to mean multiple times a week. It may just be a monthly update that you put out there. That's totally fine. But decide what that schedule and what that commitment is going to be and then stick to it. Now, one of the main benefits of blogging is that it provides fresh content. And fresh content is going to improve your Google search ranking, and it's going to help draw more visitors to your website. But before you get started, you want to think about the purpose of your website and whether or not blogging fits into that purpose. So consider the amount of time that you can commit to blogging and how consistently you can produce that content. And think about what type of content you're capable of providing and realistically assess your short-form writing ability. That's just not a skill that every writer has. Short form is a very different style than writing full novels. So if it's just not something that's in your wheelhouse, that's totally fine. Go ahead and just skip this part. And then lastly, evaluate your organizational abilities and your scheduling abilities as well. You really do want to keep a regular schedule with blogging, and that's so that you can gain new followers over time and build that engagement through your blog. If you are going to go forward with a blog, one of the hardest parts of blogging is figuring what on earth to blog about. So here are a few suggestions to consider to hopefully make that a little bit easier. So you might want to include some informational or writing craft posts. So what are you knowledgeable about in your field? Or, what do you most enjoy writing about? This is a chance for you to share your expertise with your readers. And you can even share things that you research for a story that you just found interesting and you think readers might like learning about as well. Another type of blog post is, of course, going to be promotional posts because you want to be able to share when you're having a sale or a new book or cover reveal. And this is a great place for that, but it shouldn't be the only thing on your blog. You want to try to keep promotional posts limited to about 1 in every 4 posts to avoid coming off as overly salesy. Blogs really should provide useful content for the majority of the posts, not just, be constantly yelling at readers to come buy your books. Another type of post you might want to consider are sharing excerpts of your writing. And this can be of upcoming projects or even of books that are already published that you want to renew some interest in. You can even share some just random bits of writing that aren't connected to any of your books or specific stories. Really, you just want to keep your writing and your work fresh in readers' mind and just share little pieces of that as you're going through your writing process. And another thing you can share are, of course, sneak peeks and announcements. So definitely you want to share any important news you have with your readers, like new releases, awards you might have won, big writing milestones, like finished the series or starting a new series, that sort of thing. You do want to share, again, sales and deals. That's a little bit more in the promotional posts. But even with these like sneak peeks and announcements, share them as they come up, but don't overdo it and overwhelm your reader with it. Another type of post that it can be really fun to do are character interviews. These are really enjoyed by a lot of readers because it helps get to know the characters a little bit more. You can include some character sketch information that didn't necessarily make it into the book, but might still be fun bits of knowledge for your reader to have. If you include a picture of your character, again, make sure it's a photo that you own the rights to. Don't just download celebrity photos and post them on your own personal website. You can get in a lot of trouble for that. Guest posts from other authors are also an option. So you can invite other authors to share a post about their work, maybe their writing journey, a personal story, an interview, some sort of information on a topic that you think your readers might enjoy hearing about. This is a really great way to give back to the author community and also just network and build connections in the industry. And then more specifically, if you want to interview other authors, this is a good way to just learn about other writers, help your readers maybe find more reading material from other authors you think they might be interested in. And this can be done in a variety of ways. It can just be written, long-form interview. You might record audio and share that. Even, video through like Zoom or Google Meet that can be recorded, or combine all three. There's really a lot of cool ways that you can produce interactive content in your posts, and that's going to help just engage readers more and also have them stay on the site longer and find out more. Something else you might share are writing progress updates. You can create short posts just to let readers know where you're at on a specific project, possibly even when a project might be released or when you're getting close to finishing. You can also include, short excerpt, information about your research, setting, character development, just all those little bits and pieces of what you're doing as you're working on a project, and share that information with your readers so they feel more part of the journey of this book coming into being. And lastly, you can also share some personal stories and updates. And again, just be conscious of how much you're sharing and what type of information you're sharing. You don't necessarily want to put every detail out there, but it can help your readers feel more connected with you if you do, share a little bit about your writing life, your personal life, just maybe what you've been up to recently. Readers really enjoy getting to know authors on a more personal level. And just kind of in that same vein of not oversharing, you also want to be careful about going on any rants or attacking someone else in the industry or just in general, even like venting about non-book related topics, or even book related topics if that's not, appropriate. Just really focus on making sure that whatever you do share is professional, and that it's at that level that you've already established for yourself on your platform of what you want to put out in the world to your readers. Now, lastly, for blogging, and then we'll move on to setting up an email list, just a few tips and some things that you want to remember as you're considering and getting started with blogging. Again, pick a realistic schedule and then stick to it. If you only have enough free time to put up a blog post once a month, that's perfectly fine. That's your schedule. You don't have to do any certain number of blog posts per month or per week. It's totally up to you. But when you do have that consistent schedule, it's going to help keep your traffic more steady, and it's going to help readers know what to expect from you. You also want to focus on picking a style and a tone, general topics that you want to cover, and then stay pretty consistent. You don't have to completely box yourself in. But if you're really just all over the place, readers don't know what to expect, and they may lose interest if, only, 1 in 5 posts are about something that they're interested in, and they're not really sure what's going on with the rest of them. And then make your blogging life simple by choosing a blogging website platform that will help you auto share your posts to social media. This is going to save you a ton of time. And it helps to keep your posts from being forgotten. If you get busy that week and forget to share anything, then that can impact your traffic and your views. And as you're building each individual blog post, make sure that you're using some SEO, search engine optimization techniques, such as, using keywords within the text of the post and in the title or the headline as well. You also want to utilize tags and categories to help readers quickly find what they're looking for. And then just to make sure that your search engines are finding your posts as well. And then lastly, don't just post your title when you're sharing on social media. A lot of hosting sites give you the option of creating an excerpt so that when it does auto share, it's sharing a little blurb about what the post is going to talk about. So work on adding that strong copy to the previews or the social media posts to draw readers in. If all they have is the title, it's a little bit harder to catch attention and draw readers in. So really just try to tell them why this post is going to be useful or interesting to them. Now, the next part is setting up an email list. And this is still a very important part of your author platform and your marketing plan. Direct advertising to an interested audience is still one of the most effective marketing tactics, so don't skip setting up an email list. When you're choosing an email list provider, look at what they offer and what features they have that you need most. A lot of authors find features, things like automation and website integration, social media sharing, really nice, easy to use templates. Those are going to be things that are going to make the experience and the process of setting up your newsletter a lot easier and a lot more efficient. So some of the popular providers are things like MailChimp, MailerLite, Constant Contact, ConvertKit, Aweber. There's a lot of them out there. Prices typically vary depending on the number of subscribers you have. A lot of them will let you start out with a free account that has a small subscriber limit, so you can kind of test the service and the features and see if you like it or not. Once you get up to a certain level, though, pretty much all of them you're going to have to pay a monthly service fee for. And be sure to create a public email account through your website, preferably, that you can use as your contact email. This is going to help prevent your newsletters from being marked as spam, and it also just looks more professional than using your personal email address. And legally, you do have to provide an address at the bottom of emails that you send out through a list service. If you don't want to share your private living address, you can set up a P.O. box as well to help put that barrier there on your privacy. Now, when it comes to sending out emails, there are two main types of emails that authors typically send out. And the first one is going to be the newsletter, whether that's weekly, monthly, or quarterly. And then the other one is going to be more of a email blast for special deals or new releases. So one, readers can expect to get on a specific schedule. The other pops up as things pop up in your writing life. Newsletters should be sent regularly, regardless of special deals or sales. If you don't have any book news, then maybe share updates on your writing process, your personal life on a limited basis, maybe hobbies you enjoy, or just some interesting research you've done. And how often you send out your newsletter is totally going to depend on you as the author and what you have going on and what content you want to share. So some of them will send them out weekly, others monthly, and some, especially maybe some of the newer writers, maybe just quarterly is plenty. It just really depends on what content you have to offer, but also how much time you have available for putting an email list newsletter together and sending it out. So whatever schedule you choose, just try to stay consistent so readers know what to expect and so they don't forget about you. And when it comes to blasts, those can be sent out in between regular newsletters to announce, like I said, new releases, sales, promotions, special deals, maybe contests and giveaways, just whatever exciting information you have that either, just came up or can't wait until the next newsletter. So something a little more time sensitive. And these can be really great for just grabbing the reader's attention, but you don't want to overuse it. Too many emails will definitely up your unsubscribe rate. And just a few more last tips on using your email list effectively. You want to use some high quality graphics to catch your reader's eye. If you have an author logo, that may be something that newer authors maybe don't do right away. But if you do have it, you want to include that at the top of the email so readers immediately recognize who the email's from. And any other images that you're using, just make sure that they're a manageable size so they load properly. A lot of email services will let you know if they're too big and then ask you to resize or compress it, something like that. When you're writing the text for your newsletter, you want to keep it short and sweet. Don't use huge blocks of text. You want to stick to just, maybe one-liners or brief explanations whenever possible. The goal is to catch the reader's attention and get them to click on something that's going to tell them more about, the new book or whatever event or announcement you have. And again, you want to try to share more than just book news. You still want to try to focus on engaging your readers on a personal level. And this doesn't mean sharing all your personal information. It just means sharing interesting information or anecdotes, different facts about you and your writing, and just letting readers know that you're still working away. But yes, you do have a life outside of writing that sometimes takes precedent. And start building your email list as early as possible. Don't wait until you're ready to launch a book or, get an agent or hit publish, whatever it is. Start as early as possible so you can start collecting those readers who are interested in your work as early as you can, so that when you do have that book ready or you have an announcement or some big news, you already have a group of people who want to hear about it or want to go buy it. And lastly, try to write really strong headlines to encourage opens. You want to be concise with your wording and tell readers exactly what you're offering, whether that's a new book or a free book. You have an update on something that you're working on. Maybe you're hosting a giveaway. Just try to include that in the headline very clearly and avoid excessive punctuation. Things like that can get it marked as spam pretty quickly, and then your readers will never see it. So now let's kind of switch gears a little bit and talk about social media. There are so many different types of social media. It can be really easy to get overwhelmed, and you want to get involved in social media and have a presence, but you don't want to overdo it and completely overwhelm yourself. So the point of social media marketing, it's not just selling your books. Again, it's about building that community of loyal readers. Social media can connect you with readers all over the world. So building a community of like-minded readers is really going to help them engage and stay interested for longer. Social media lets you go to where buyers already live instead of trying to make them all come to you. So it's really important that you find out which platforms your ideal readers are using regularly and then go to them and start interacting. Don't spend precious time on platforms that aren't a good fit for the type of community that you're trying to build. Social media provides a lot of opportunities for interaction and relationship development. It's more than just, serving ads to users and hoping that they come buy your book. That's not going to be very effective long term. You want to take the time to interact with readers, comment when they, send you messages or leave posts, answer their questions when they come up, and then share engaging content. And just really focus on investing in the long-term relationship with those readers. Social media also allows you to show some personality and express yourself to readers. And in today's digital age, readers do want to get to know and hear from authors that they like. They want to have that personal connection. They want to learn about, your life and how you write and how those two things come together. I think a lot of people find that very interesting. And it adds more layers to their reading experience and helps provide them just a fun, great community to be a part of. Now, if you are not already on social media or you maybe have one and aren't sure where to go from there, there are some things that you consider for what types of social media platforms are going to be useful to you as an author. So first step is going to be to define your ideal reader and then figure out where that ideal platform is on social media. And you also want to consider your own skill and preferences, like I mentioned before. If you really hate using a particular platform, just don't use it. It's fine. Because if you don't like using it, you're not going to do it consistently, and then it just isn't worth the effort. So a Facebook page is one of the first things that a lot of authors will start with. And again, this is a page, not a profile. Even though that's a little bit blurred now with some of the changes to Facebook. But if you already have a personal profile, that's not the one to use. You're going to set up a business profile /page, and that's where you're going to start building your community. Facebook is still the most used platform. It provides opportunities for building long-term communities and relationships with readers. It's really easy to get started on, and it's a pretty good one for carrying conversations as well. Facebook is geared more toward adults than young users. So the age range is in the 18, 19 to 45 to 50-year-old, with slightly more female users than men. But when you look at who the active users are who engage, multiple times a week, you're even going to skew higher than that 18, 19-year-old, and it's going to be more like 25 to 50-ish. So consider that if you're writing, for young teens, Facebook might not be the place that you want to focus the most amount of time on. Twitter, on the other hand, is kind of an ongoing conversation style of social media. So if you really are focused on conversation and reaching out and having discussions, it might be a really great place for you to start. Its interface is really geared toward those in-the-moment types of conversations, but it's also a really good platform for news and updates. Twitter is really popular with both men and women in the 18 to 49 age group, and nearly half of the users on the platform are on there engaging at least once a day. Instagram is going to be mainly focused on the visual. It started out as only visual, and that's still its main draw, so it works really well for creatives. It offers authors and creators business accounts, which are a little bit different than the personal profiles. You have the chance to get statistics and analytics and do some advertising as well. So if you want to turn your personal profile into a business or author or creator profile, you can. You can also set up a separate one, and then it's pretty easy to toggle back and forth between them in the app, which is really nice. But because it is owned by Facebook, those two are linked, so there can be good and bad with that. But if you do want to link those, it is pretty easy to link your accounts, and then you can simplify posting and messaging. Instagram has a pretty easy conversation style, and its main user groups skew toward a younger audience. So more the older teen up to about 30 years old is the largest active age group on Instagram. YouTube is also another visually driven platform. It provides the opportunity to express your style and personality a little bit more. Video definitely tends to get the most interaction on social media, and that's whether you're trying to bring readers and viewers directly to YouTube, or if that's where you're posting videos and then you're sharing them on your other social media accounts. That can work both ways. Authors can really make use of YouTube with book trailers, readings, Q&As, even just talking and sharing it, kind of using it as a video blog of sorts. YouTube is pretty much popular, a wide range of age groups. You can reach a lot of people, and especially some of the younger readers and viewers, you may be able to reach them a little bit more on YouTube than some of the other social media platforms. Pinterest is another really visual platform, but it's also informational, and it has users who are ready to make purchases. A lot of Pinterest users go there to find specific products or information, so they can be a really great base to advertise to. Pins are shareable between users, and the board format that Pinterest has is pretty easy to use and navigate. Users can easily follow specific interests and save pins to their own boards. And the platform, like I said, is pretty buyer-centered, and it has really high conversion rates, which is great if you're going to try out some advertising there. And the user profile is mainly female, but it's popular in a really wide group of age ranges, all the way from late teens, 18, 19, up through mid-60s. And then lastly, I want to talk about TikTok. TikTok has a really great community for authors and creatives in general, but the book talk community on Twitter has grown quite a lot, and a lot of authors are finding some great interaction there. And TikTok also skews toward younger users as well. So even the middle grade to early teens, where they're a little bit harder to capture that age group on other social media platforms, TikTok can be a really great place for that. Now, similar to social media, but not quite social media, is setting up your author profiles on retailer and book-related sites. These are the types of sites that if you put the initial time investment in to get everything set up, you can get a lot of benefit from it without having to put a lot more effort in after the fact, because they're not really heavy on interaction. They're more of putting information out there and then collecting followers. So one of the main ones that you want to do is going to be the Amazon Author Central. This is different from your KDP account if you are a self-published author. Amazon Author Central is going to allow you to set up your public profile on Amazon. It gives you access to sales reports and the ability to manage your books a little bit more efficiently and effectively. So you want to create your account, claim all of your books, and update or fix any information that isn't quite right on those. And then you can track the sales of your paperbacks. And this is nice, especially for authors who are with traditional publishers. You can get some of that information that you can't get otherwise. So you want to fill out your profile details, connect all your social media accounts, and look into the ability to use paid ads. Most of that is still going to be done through your KDP account. If you are not a self-published author, then you may still be able to run some ads. They opened that up more recently, and you can look into that there. And you can also collect followers on your Amazon profile. How many followers you have is a complete mystery because Amazon does not actually tell you that. But it's good to promote getting followers on Amazon regardless, because Amazon will occasionally send out alerts if you have a new release or if they choose one of your books to be involved in some sort of promotion. They can send that out to whoever's following you. Goodreads is another one that's important for authors. You can create and claim your author account, and this is going to help you to manage your public profile and start collecting friends and followers. You want to make sure that you add your books to your profile. If you're blogging, go ahead and connect your blog, and then connect your other social media accounts so that interested readers can easily follow you through Goodreads. And you also have the ability to host giveaways through Goodreads, but they are pretty pricey, considering just the cost of some of the others. The last I checked, they ran about $119 per giveaway, and that's for paperback or ebook. BookBub is another really great place to set up a profile as an author. Again, you can create and claim your author account, and then you're going to start collecting followers. And BookBub also offers paid advertising and some other features once you sign up as an author. And you can also submit to their newsletter spots, which are quite pricey, but generally very, very effective. Another great one for authors specifically is My Book Cave. This is one where, again, you can create an account and set up your author profile, add all of your books as reader magnets, and then you can see the stats on them of who's interested in them, who's saving them or downloading them. You also have to give each book a content rating, which I think is a unique feature of My Book Cave. And they also offer the ability to do features and promotional opportunities and use your magnets as list building opportunities to grow your email list. And these magnets are a really good way to collaborate with other authors through the various promotions that go on through in the various months. And again, just, continually working on building your email list. And the last one that I wanted to mention is LinkedIn. It is social media, but it's not, Facebook style social media. It's more a professional networking site than, sharing personal updates and pictures and that sort of things. One of the nice things for authors is that you can list your works, your published works, your education and experience, and you can even put in your various books in as publications. Also, you can list there any writing or literary awards you've won. And this is just a really good place to make professional contacts in the writing and publishing industry. And you can also publish blog-style articles directly on LinkedIn. So if you were interested in doing some blogging or writing some articles, but you didn't want to necessarily have that on your website, that can be a great option to do that. So the benefit of doing all of these is that most of them, Amazon, Goodreads, BookBub, My Book Cave, those can be utilized to send out new release alerts to your readers and followers. And that is something that you can do for free through them, which is really a nice benefit because most other avenues you're going to try to get that information out, you're going to be paying a fee for. Now, a few last notes on setting up accounts and profiles as an author is that once you have them all set up with your author pick, and you want to keep that consistent, remember, your bio, your social media links, your book links, your contact information, make sure that when it's available, you go through and verify your account. So like Facebook gives you the little blue check mark. Different sites do it a little bit differently. But when you can do that, it's a good idea to do that. So that way, When readers go looking for you, they know that, yes, I've found the right one. This is the real account. And again, where you can customize, it's always a good idea to do that. It's going to help you stand out from other profiles on the platform. But make sure that you're going to use the custom cover photos, change up your background images, and do the background images, especially anytime you have something new going on. So new book, develop a new background image, display that, really highlight what's going on. When you can choose unique colors, try to match that to your style that you have set up on your other accounts in your website. And then get rid of any tabs or features that don't apply to you and your writing. For example, on Facebook, you can customize the tabs. You can choose what your call to action asks for the visitor to do. Either that's sign up or buy or get more information. And then you can also change what it leads to. So you can set that to maybe your Amazon author profile, your website if you're selling your books directly on your website, or just a customized landing page. And then on a lot of social media sites, you may only be able to add one link. So decide what you want that link to be. Maybe directly to your book if you're focusing on one specific book, maybe to your website, maybe to a landing page that has a bunch of links on it. And you want to make sure that you're updating your images often. Always use professional looking graphics and only use images you own the copyright to. Don't get yourself in trouble. And if you update your profile picture, make sure to do that on all of your platforms at the same time. And where you can, it's a good idea to pin posts or tweets, whatever it is on that particular platform, to the top of the page when you have something new going on. So if you have an announcement, a new book, you're going to be attending something, pin that to the top, and then go back and update it when, if the event has passed, go pin something different there. Try to keep it as updated as possible because that's the first thing that someone's going to see when they go to your profile. So once you finally have all of your social media and author profiles set up, now it's time to figure out how to actually start using your social media accounts. So before we jump into the specifics, just a few reminders in general of how to purposefully use social media. Remember, first and foremost, that social media is not just about selling your books. The purpose is to interact with your readers and cultivate your fans and build a sense of community. To do this, it really is important to share useful information. So you can use humor to make people laugh, post things that are inspirational, share the love you have for other authors. So it's not just about you all the time. If you're reading a book and you are just in love with it, share that with your readers. And then share the status or the progress of different projects to keep your readers informed, keep them excited, and build reader interest in your project with things like teasers and quotes and sneak peeks. And then it's always nice to reward loyal fans with, first looks or special giveaways and prizes, sharing your writing related or possibly personal news and events, and just share your personality and show what you're interested in with your readers. These kind of things are really going to help you grow that community and develop friendships that are going to last a long time with your readers. So now let's talk about what you're going to be doing with your social media accounts. So it's best to follow the 25% rule. You're going to have promotional posts, informational posts, personality style posts, and some sort of post that's giving back. So you don't necessarily have to go in any particular order, but only 1 out of every 4 posts should be promotional. The rest you can kind of mix and match as they come up or as you find specific content. Just really make sure that you're not overdoing it on the promotional post. So specifically with Facebook, posts that work well on Facebook include things like behind the scenes photos, quotes, fill in the blank questions, true or false questions, open-ended questions, blog posts about writing craft or in-progress projects, newsletters, announcements, teasers, sneak peeks, information about new releases, live videos. Video is always great for engagement. Excerpts of what you're doing. Humorous memes are always good. And then just book or publishing related articles, things that are interesting and newsworthy. And then just personal interactions. Facebook is really good about conversation and building community. So try to choose those things that are going to help you start and carry on conversations and really interact with readers there. When it comes to Twitter, the types of tweets that work well on Twitter, things like blog posts with interesting headlines and excerpts, industry-related articles, quotes from famous authors, industry news of interest to readers and other authors that you're sharing with, newsletters, announcements, short videos, event updates, especially, as you're attending an event. Twitter can be a really great way to give those updates throughout the event. Questions you would like readers to answer, Twitter chats, and even just, sharing your random impromptu thoughts as they come up with your readers. Pinterest is really great for product and book photos, things like writing guides, links to your ebooks, videos for things like book trailers or author talks, infographics, especially still really great on Pinterest, quotes or tips from you or famous authors, sharing your blog post with specifically created images for Pinterest that are going to be portrait rather than landscape. And then just other types of curated content that are geared toward writing and publishing. Life hacks are always really popular on Pinterest, instructional articles and videos, and anything to do with arts and crafts. So if you have an art or a craft related to your books, this is a great place to share them. Instagram is very customer centric, and it's important to add value to images by providing specific price details when you're posting something promotional. You can also share customer created pictures of you in day-to-day life, pictures of your non-writing interests, contest announcements, and even like product-centric pics. Really with Instagram, you want to try to focus on those in-the-moment pictures to share and to give insight to your readers about what your life and your writing process is like. YouTube is a great platform for sharing book trailers, maybe pre-recorded author readings or author talks that you have somewhere else, have someone record that, and then you can post it later. Updates or on projects, and even doing some live Q&As with readers is really good. And again, TikTok is all about video, and it's going to be a lot of, again, in-the-moment types of things work really well on TikTok, but also pre-recorded curated content that's specific about your products or discussing your writing process, what's going on with you in your book world, as well as possibly your personal world, if that's something that you're prepared to share. And you can use the TikTok app to add different things to your video with music, overlaid images, different sorts of things. So it's pretty versatile, and it can be a really great way to engage, especially if your target audience are those younger readers who are a little bit harder to find on some of the other social media platforms. So people often ask, how often do I have to do all these things? Am I spending my whole life on social media now? It can sometimes feel like that, but no, you don't have to spend all of your time creating content and posting. But I do want to give you some general suggestions based on some of the most current research on what are good amounts and when to post on various social media sites. And even as I say, these times and schedules and suggestions, always take into account your personal schedule and just modify these to accommodate what's going on in your life and what your time commitment looks like to putting towards social media marketing. So on Facebook, you want to look at posting 1 to 2 times a day, or, as few as 3 times a week. Just kind of, again, depending on what works for you personally and your schedule. You want to keep an eye on your insights to see when your fans are online most and when they're interacting and engaging, and then you can schedule your posts ahead of time during those time periods to help them be more effective. And it's also important to review what types of posts fans are interacting with most as well, and then plan your content accordingly. Twitter has a wide range. A lot of research says anywhere between 3 and 30 times a day tweeting is great. You just want to spread it throughout the day, depending, whether you only do those 3 or if you're, posting every couple of hours. Just try to spread it out so it's not overwhelming and taking up the whole Twitter feed when somebody comes in. And again, check your insights for the best posting times and pay attention to what types of posts garner the most engagement. With Pinterest, you can really go anywhere between like 3 to 10 times a day. You are typically going to see more engagement on weekend mornings, though. So you might want to plan accordingly there. Blogging. Most research says, about 2 times a week is optimal as far as, keeping your traffic engaged. But again, that's kind of a lot of blogging. I have a hard time keeping up with once a week. So that's kind of where my limit lies. So just, find what works for you when it comes to blogging. But either way, whatever schedule you choose, really focus on just producing high quality content. And as far as posting, early mornings are typically the best time to post, especially early in the week. And on YouTube, 1 time per week works pretty well for most channels. If you were to blow up and get really popular, you might want a few more. But for the most part, once a week is plenty. And you really want to create a specific schedule and stick to it if you're really going to actively try to use YouTube as a social media platform to build community. If you're just using YouTube to, as a container, like here's where I posted my book trailer and then I'm going to share that elsewhere, then having a schedule is not as important. And so really the frequency depends on the topic and the brand. Look at other authors and publishers working in your genres and see what they're doing to kind of get a better gauge on that. And with TikTok's kind of similar to Instagram and Twitter. It's pretty variable on when and how much, and you really want to check your insights to see what your followers are engaging with and what times that they're online and accessing the app and plan accordingly. But either way, focus on putting together, really interesting, strong videos. Use the features in TikTok. Put the text overlay. That's really helpful because people can't always watch with the sound on their mobile devices. So if they can still engage with that video, even if they don't have their sound on, that can really help. Now, the next question that you might be asking is, where do I find the time to be posting all of this stuff everywhere? Scheduling ahead of time can be a huge help when you're trying to stay active on social media and get your content out there. Most social media platforms allow scheduling through their own app, but you may need to use a third-party app if that particular app does not allow that. And a lot of third-party apps will allow you to do multiple accounts within their app, so you can kind of plan your content and schedule it for multiple apps all within one place. So some of those third-party apps are something like Hootsuite, which works with most social media platforms. You can usually try it out for free at first with some limited options, and then you can, if you decided that it works really well for you, you can pay for the unlimited account, which usually, allows more social media platforms and has more options. A lot of people really like it. They find it pretty easy to use, but it is one of the more expensive third-party scheduling services. Buffer also starts out with a free account. You can choose up to 3 accounts, although it's really only 2 now because they made a change that they kind of force you to use one account as like a Buffer landing page. So, just kind of plan on 2 accounts really. And you can only schedule up to 10 posts per account. Their paid plan allows for more accounts and for unlimited scheduling. TweetDeck really is just only for Twitter, but it can be nice if you have several Twitter accounts that you're trying to manage, or if you're following specific topics looking for content. You can do that through TweetDeck as well. This really is great for helping you set up different groups and trends to follow as well on the dashboard. Tailwind, they don't have a free account to start with. It's only a paid account option, but it can be really helpful for scheduling your posts on Pinterest and Instagram. And a nice thing about it is that it also suggests the best posting time and gives hashtag suggestions for each post as well. And then there is the Facebook Business Suite, which has kind of gone through several iterations over time, and I think it just changed again recently. But basically, this is the dashboard that connects your Facebook and Instagram linked account for all of your scheduling, messaging, analytics, paid advertising. It's all in one place for both of those. Again, this has kind of gone through some changes over the years on which Instagram accounts you can connect to which profile. So it may be a little time consuming to get everything set up at first, but it can make it a lot easier to get all of your content out there once you do have it set up. Now, once you're posting, once you're kind of seeing that traffic and getting a little bit of interaction, what you really want to do is start paying attention to your analytics. And most social media platforms offer at least some really basic analytics of, how many times your post was seen, what time your followers tend to be online, what posts were more popular than others. And these, just take a look at all that information on likes, comments, shares, visitors. Referring sites can be really helpful to look at. The time online of your followers, how much time are they spending on the app? You can also see who your top fans are on things like Facebook. And then just really use it to research the popularity of different types of content, where your fans are coming from. And then use all of that information to kind of reevaluate what you're posting and when you're posting and work that into your schedule. So, review those analytics regularly and update as often as needed, depending on how things change. And then just track the effectiveness of changes that you make or new tactics that you try. And just keep adjusting over time as you're looking at that. So the next area that we're going to jump into is creating a market plan. And market plans can be really just general, kind of an overview, or they can get really detailed. Like either way, whatever level you want to do a marketing plan on, you should have one, even if it's just really like high level general concept. It's important to kind of have a plan and know what you're doing, and that's going to help you figure out where to focus your time and your energy on your marketing. Basics of delving into a marketing plan. Word of mouth is still the very best way to sell any product, but it does require a really high quality product. So make sure what you're putting out into the world is worth having people talk about and tell their friends about. Your website is again going to be your single source for all your buy links and all the basic information about you and your books. Social media is going to provide the opportunity to post regularly and build that community of interested readers. And it also provides an avenue of free advertising. Some, like in Facebook, it's a little bit harder to get that organic reach, but it is possible. But you can do that through posting on your author pages and, setting up Pinterest boards and various things. It's also important to utilize your newsletter. You can expand that with newsletter swaps. Also using your blogging to make those announcements and share interesting events and things going on with your writing. And then again, adding your books to sites like My Book Cave and Goodreads. And then we'll talk a little bit more about paid advertising. It is an integral part of marketing at this point in time. And popular options for authors include social media ads on things like, Facebook, Pinterest, Amazon, all that good stuff. Paying for newsletter spots and things like BookBub and FreeBooksy and various other newsletters like that. We might also consider print ads, sponsorships on different sites that are book related or writing related. And then some, like takeovers and parties, virtual or in person. So when you're starting out with your marketing plan, you want to think about what components you're going to include. And your very first components to consider are your available time, your budget, so the money that you can invest in marketing, and the amount of effort that you can put toward marketing. How much of each one is going to, really determine what you can do with your marketing. So how much of each of those can you put toward marketing each day or each week? And really be realistic with yourself so you can plan something that is actually going to work. If you try to shove too much in and really overdo it, it's just going to fall apart. You're going to get overwhelmed and you're not going to be able to do everything you wanted to. So next step is you're going to determine your audience, your avenues, your goals, and your competition. Knowing who to market to and how to reach them are really important for your marketing plan being effective. So you want to have realistic goals and know what's already working for others through, putting the time in to do some marketing research, follow other authors, And then, build on that and start developing some more unique tactics. Big picture planning of your marketing plan. You want to look at both paid and free advertising options. And it's really good to plan out daily, weekly, monthly tasks that fit into your schedule. Submit your book to deals. You want to submit your book deals to newsletters for features well in advance of any planned promotional pushes. Paid spots are going to get better visibility, but free spots can be pretty useful as well. And you want to be consistent with your interaction on social media. So make sure you're sharing updates, sales, promotions, asking questions, hosting giveaways for, special events, and maybe some limited personal details like hobbies or books you're reading, stuff like that. You may want to start a street team, and that's a group of readers who are going to help share your posts on social media, maybe do reviews for your books, and maybe help build and moderate the community. Now, when you're getting started with promotions, it's important to be consistent in having a schedule. This is going to help keep your content, your books, in the forefront of readers' mind. But before you start scheduling your promotions on your various social media accounts, you really do want to make sure that you have high quality promotional graphics or videos, depending on what platform you're using. Have those ready ahead of time. And a lot of those you can make yourself. Canva is really a nice product for putting together some really nice looking promotional graphics. But if you need to, you can pay someone to design those for you, usually for fairly inexpensive price. And you also want to prepare your promotional materials in advance. So you want to give readers something to remember you and the book in person and online. And so this is going to definitely start with high quality graphics and a professional design. And again, this doesn't have to be something that's really expensive. Using, Canva or BookBrush is something that most people, can do on their own and creates really nice attention-getting graphics. In Canva, there's some that you can do with their free plan. The others do have a monthly fee, but they're pretty reasonably priced and worth the investment overall. There's also, again, design services that are pretty affordable. A lot of authors kind of run businesses like this on the side. So they're familiar with the industry and what's going to be effective, which is really nice. Physical materials that you might want to prepare for things like in-person events or for, sending out or selling to readers. Maybe paper bookmarks, business cards, postcards, book plates to sign and mail, banners or posters, and maybe even flyers for various events that you might be attending or classes, things like that. Virtual materials for social media are going to include graphics with teasers from your work, quotes, digital autographs, posts to save and share, videos, book trailers, social media banners, 3D cover art is always nice to have, and logos possibly if you want to go that route. And some more unique promotional materials that can really make you stand out are nice to have. That might be something like some book-themed jewelry, ribbon bookmarks, personalized book plates, mugs, t-shirts, pens, that sort of thing. And then lastly, there are personal materials that you want to have prepared. And that might be selecting some portions of your book to read live in a live stream or in person. Q&A type of interactions, so having a prepared list of questions and kind of having an idea of what you're going to say to them. Live chat sessions, either in person. Twitter does a lot of Twitter chat type things. That can be a good place for that as well. Now, another promotional opportunity is getting involved in cross promotions. And these are really nice because they not only help you get your work out there, they're also going to help you network with other authors and meet new readers. So newsletter swaps are a good way to start. And the way these works is that you agree to feature another author's book in your email newsletter, and they share yours in their newsletter. So the author with the smaller newsletter obviously gets the most benefit, but both authors are exposed to new readers, and even gaining, a handful of new readers makes it worth it because they can become loyal lifetime fans. And this usually works best if the books featured are in similar genres. You're welcome to try with whoever is willing to do a swap with you. But typically, if your genres are similar or the same, that's probably going to give you the biggest boost in readership. Combined marketing pushes. These are especially common and effective around specific themes or holidays. So basically they work by all the authors in the group promote it's either a box set or individual books on a theme. Usually there's a single landing page that everybody is sending people to. And this can work for free or paid books. It just depends on what you want to get involved in. You can also look at doing some guest posts or author interview trades. And this is basically, you're going to share someone else's guest post and then they'll share your guest post on their blog, swap promotions or interviews with each other. And this, again, is just going to increase your general exposure and help open you up to new readers. Multi-author events are another good way to promote yourself. And so this is just joining with other authors, celebrating either usually a theme or a holiday or just, randomly to get together and do something fun with other authors. You might consider doing that through hosting like a Facebook party or a Twitter chat, doing a group sale, maybe a virtual author panel or Q&A, that sort of thing, just kind of bringing multiple audiences together to introduce them to new authors and get you interacting with other readers as well. And box sets are still fairly popular. With box sets, each author contributes a book or a novella or, depending on the length of what that particular group is doing. And then all the books are sold as one unit in an ebook format. All of the authors involved have to agree to promote and share any advertising costs. So usually these types of things do have a fee in order to join because then those fees are going to be put toward advertising. So you really want to be sure to vet the other authors involved before signing any contracts. Make sure that this is going to be effective and worth the time and money that you're investing in it. Now, other free marketing avenues. Free is always great, and I'll talk about some paid options as well in a minute. But even once, you're learning how to do ads and you're getting involved in paid advertising, don't forget about free advertising because it can still be very effective for book marketing. It is often a little bit more time consuming, but if you do the work to figure out which ones work for you and your genre, they can be definitely worth the time investment. Facebook. Facebook has a lot of marketing groups that you can share links to your book. And you can also post on your author page on a regular basis. And remember, just keep the promotional posts limited to about 25%. On Facebook, you can also run giveaways on your author page, maybe for a free ebook or a signed paperback. You can host a Facebook party to celebrate a new release, or, maybe celebrate your book anniversaries, your birthday, sky's the limit on what you can decide to have a virtual event over. But just make sure using that avenue of advertising that you really don't have to do anything else other than prepare and post and interact during it. Twitter, try to use the pinned feature tweet to highlight things that are going on in the moment and switch that up when things change, when you have a new event or when, whatever you were doing has passed and is done with. And then also just tweeting daily with interesting content and the occasional promotion. And then follow other readers and authors and just start or join book-related conversations. It's going to help you build your expertise and also just introduce you to other industry professionals and other readers. Ebook submission sites. There is a huge variety of submission sites. Most of them are genre-specific or have different email lists for different genres within their overall list. While many do charge a fee, there are some that are free to submit to. Again, this can be kind of time consuming because you've got to do it one by one, but it can be really beneficial in gaining new readers and some sales. Cross-promoting is another good avenue. This is where you're going to team up with other authors and share each other's posts, tweets, pins, links, videos, whatever it is. Some author groups do this regularly, such as like Chicklet Chat HQ has a sharing thing on Friday where you can post depending on, they kind of split it into groups for each Friday. But a lot of established groups will do something like that, so get involved in some of those. You can also do a free ebook offer. And this may be, a full book, a novella, an excerpt, a sample, or a short story. And you can do this on a permanent or a temporary basis. A lot of authors still use a free product as like a reader magnet to increase their newsletter subscriptions. And then don't forget about video and audio. You can really make use of YouTube and TikTok for those videos and even just, audio over various images, making book trailers, recording author readings, maybe just doing even a weekly check-in or a chat through video or audio. And if you really want to get adventurous, you can start a radio show or a podcast to talk about books or writing or whatever interest you have out there. That'll help you just build a community and engage with people. Now, before I jump over to paid advertising, I did just want to touch on the idea of just upping the level of creativity in your marketing. The more creative your marketing efforts are, the more memorable they're going to be. So you really want to try to match your marketing efforts to the theme or a really unique feature of your books. A great example of this was the launch of The Girl on the Train. So on release day, the publisher deployed dozens or more, I'm not sure exactly what the number was, of their employees onto the subways and trains around the city, and they all had copies of the book. And so they rode around on the trains for several hours reading copies of the books and engaging in conversations about the book with people on the trains. So that was just a really fun way to get people interested. They're seeing this book everywhere, and it's in an appropriate place on a train with the girl on the train. So, just think about creative ways that you can bring your book into the real world to start those conversations and interactions. Another cool example is from the Liar Society. Authors and promoters all were wearing pink wigs to match the hair of the main character. And they had a photography-themed book author who ran a camera giveaway and a Pinterest contest. And an author-musician offered, a free digital music album with the purchase of his book. So just really, try to pair things up, whether that's, a side interest that relates to your book, something local where you can tie your book into the actual place that maybe is in a book, or just a really fun, unique aspect of your book that you can put out into the world and get people talking about it. So now on to paid advertising. This is where a lot of authors cringe and feel overwhelmed and don't know how to dive into it without, taking a million classes and spending their whole life watching their ads every 5 seconds to figure out if they're doing the right thing or not. Paid advertising can be a little bit overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be so overwhelming that you just avoid it entirely. And it also doesn't have to be crazy expensive. I think that also holds a lot of authors back as well, thinking, it's a huge money investment. Just thinking that it's this huge money investment that they're going to have to do, and it's going to take months and months before they see the results of that. And that is not the case a lot of the time. Many authors start out with very small budgets as they're learning and figuring out how to use a specific advertising platform. And then once they feel like they have the hang of it and they're seeing their ads beginning to be profitable, then they can increase their budget and make those marketing dollars go a little bit further. As you're getting started with paid advertising, it's important to know, just some of the basic lingo and basic concepts of getting started with paid advertising. So social media advertising can be done on a small or a large budget. It is pretty effective for reaching a targeted audience, but there is a learning curve, and that's going to be steeper on some platforms than others. It just depends. But there's also a lot of resources available to help authors learn how to maximize their budgets and make their ads really effective. And this is anything from, watching some free webinars, picking up a book on it, taking a Udemy class, or going full in and taking some college classes on it. Those are also available. You get a whole degree in social media advertising if you want to. But another avenue is influencer marketing. And this is something that has become more of an integral part of advertising in the last, little while, as influencers have become just more part of the marketing industry. And so what this basically is it involves an industry expert, a celebrity possibly, recommending your book or product to their followers in exchange for a fee. And you've got to reach out and make those connections, and it's going to be a different process with each individual person. But, if you have something that you think is going to do really well with an influencer that they're going to like it, don't be afraid to reach out and see what that would take to make it happen. Banner ads are the clickable graphics at the top of a lot of websites, especially, if they're book-related websites, they're going to have various book ads throughout the website that people can click on. Banner ads tend to be the most effective way to advertise because they're going to grab the visitor's attention right away. They're right there at the top of the page. These can also be more expensive than other types of ads, but they do generally tend to be worth the money on bigger book-related sites. So you kind of have to be choosy about which sites have enough traffic to make it worth it. But if you're going to do some sort of website ad, usually the banner ad is going to be the most effective. Affiliate marketing involves becoming an affiliate with a retailer or an organization and then hosting referral links on your website or in your social media posts. So you get paid a small fee per click, but you do have to tell visitors or followers that it's an affiliate link to be clear and upfront about what people are clicking on. Ad retargeting is basically a reminder for customers to check out a product. So even if they leave your page or a page that you're advertising on, it is most effective for high traffic websites, but it also works well with things like banner ads as well. Your CTA or your call to action tells customers what you want them to do. So that may be buy something, sign up, join, what have you. Depends on the situation. But it's really important to have a strong call to action in ads so that the customer isn't left wondering, okay, what am I supposed to do next? ROI is your return on investment. And this is a ratio of net profit and cost of investment. So you want to evaluate ads that you run while they're running and after they're completed as well to see if they were worth the investment. An ROI of 1% to 2% on Facebook is considered pretty good. And that's going to be different depending on what you're advertising on. So you kind of want to look up what the industry standard for being, good or effective is on whatever it is you're advertising on. So CPC is cost per click. Another version of that is pay per click, PPC. Either way, it breaks down into your ad spend to see what each interaction is costing you. So ads are usually about twice as effective at getting clicks as organic posts are. On average, the CPC / PPC is about 25 to 30 cents for Facebook in the United States. And that's considered pretty good. Click-through rate, CTR, is the percentage of customers who click through to the next step, whatever that step might be. So having a clear call to action is going to make for a better click-through rate because the person knows what you expect them to do. So a CTR of like 2 to 5% on Facebook is generally considered pretty good and effective. Now that we know some of the terms and what we're talking about, what you want to look for, now you want to think about where is going to be most effective for you as an author to do some paid advertising. Amazon. Ads on Amazon are set up through your KDP dashboard. You can target similar books or authors. So depending on where you feel like you're going to reach your readers more effectively, you can choose between those two. Amazon's ads are very effective for most authors, but there is a pretty steep learning curve. I would recommend signing up for a class to learn how to use this platform best before you start dumping money into it. Facebook's paid ads have a wider range than boosted ads, which mainly target followers. So in order to serve paid ads, you do have to set up your Business Center account and put in all of your, financial information and agree to all of their terms and stuff. And then you have to be approved. And then once you're approved, you can start running ads. Most people find that Facebook ads are generally fairly easy to set up and start rolling with. They can be a little bit pricier than some of the others, and their effectiveness has gone down over the last years, but in a lot of cases, they're still pretty effective overall. Pinterest also offers paid ads. To advertise on Pinterest, you can promote pins, you can create campaigns, or you can advertise stories. Pinterest is really effective for advertising because pinners are ready to buy, and its user base is constantly growing, which is also nice. Instagram ads can be set up directly through Instagram or through your connected business account with Facebook, so either one. You can promote images, videos, stories, or collection. And Instagram has a pretty high interaction, which makes it effective as an advertising option. It can be pricier than other platforms, though, especially for high engagement industries. Now, on Twitter, the type of ad that tends to work best for authors are objective-based campaigns. These allow you to promote tweets, accounts, trends, or even moments. And some readers have really good results advertising, or some authors have really good results advertising on Twitter, and others just don't. It's a little bit of a trickier one, so really consider the strength of your platform on Twitter before putting the money into advertising there. Now, Goodreads, this is definitely a reader and book lover focused platform, and it can be an effective advertising option, but mainly for those who've cultivated a really strong presence there. There are 2 advertising options on Goodreads. You can give away a Kindle or a print book, which I think I mentioned before, runs about $119. And you can also set up digital ads, but these have to be set up through a rep. The last time I checked, there was still no self-service option, which was a little frustrating. So advertising on Goodreads does tend to be quite pricey, and oddly enough, it is usually not as effective as other platforms. Hard to say why. Maybe because you don't have as much control over it to tweak and adjust as you go. I'm not sure. But yeah, they do tend to be a little bit more expensive and less effective. So maybe not the first one to get started with. Now with TikTok, video content is just in general really attention grabbing and effective at getting interaction. And TikTok is growing really fast, and it's considered one of the leading short form video platform with more than 1 billion active users right now. And over 90% of users take action after watching a video. And there's a really strong book community on TikTok as well, called BookTok. But you do need a business account in order to run Spark ads or to boost your videos. Spark ads tend to have higher completion rates and engagement than boosted videos. So overall, TikTok ads do tend to be very effective, but their pricing structure does have some minimum spend requirements, so you kind of have to be ready with your budget to meet those minimum spend requirements before you jump into advertising on TikTok. Now, there are some non-social media advertising options that I wanted to mention. Listing sites offer spots in their newsletters for authors to advertise a lot of the time new releases or special pricing or free books. Newsletter ads provide short-term results and benefits, with generally a period of additional sales at a higher price or a better sell-through rate on other books in a series. So these can be really great if you have a series and you're promoting the first book in the series. This period after the initial promotion is where most of your revenue is made, especially obviously if you're promoting a free book. Your hope is that readers will continue on with the series and then pay for the other books in the series. These types of ads range from really inexpensive to very expensive depending on the size of the services list. So big lists like BookBuff can be extremely effective and produce a much longer period of additional sales after the initial promo. Other sites that are smaller, you may get a smaller boost and then a pretty short period of additional sales afterward. Banner ads are advertisements put in a prominent spot, usually the top of the page or the sidebar on a website. It's important to check the site's monthly or daily traffic before purchasing an ad. And it's also really important to make sure that the price of the ad is proportional to the amount of traffic. Because these types of ads are moderately expensive, but if the site has good traffic, they're generally pretty effective. But the results are fairly short term and limited to the time that the ad is running. Review services are another type of advertising that's not really ads, but it's still getting your book into the hands of readers and helping to improve your long-term sales overall. Reviews affect buyer confidence, so it is really important to seek out reviews for your books, especially early on. Now, Amazon's terms of service prohibit paying for reviews or exchanging products in return for reviews, so you do have to be conscious of that and being careful about how you're approaching getting reviews. One exception to the Amazon terms of service is that you can provide a free book in exchange for an honest review. That is fine, but you cannot pay someone to provide you a review. Now, with review services, this is different than paying for a review, because what you're actually doing is you're paying to have your book included in a review service listing, and that puts it out there as an available option for reviewers to provide a review. So this type of service does not violate Amazon's TOS. These services can be pretty expensive though, depending on the service. So you want to make sure that it's going to be worth the money, that they have a large group of reviewers who are actually going to provide reviews. So services with large reader bases are obviously going to cost more than those with smaller services. But smaller services can still be pretty effective. These types of services can be really good for your long-term results, because once those reviews are there, they're there forever, as long as Amazon doesn't do something weird and go around taking reviews away again, which they have done in the past for various reasons. The next thing is you want to think about your marketing when you are launching a book. Launching a book, it typically takes some extra marketing and a really specific plan in order to make it really successful. We're going to talk about kind of using some of the various tactics that we've already discussed and putting them all together into a launch plan that can be effective and really help you get your book out there. There are 3 components of a book launch that you want to think about. You want to think about your pre-release tactics, your release day tactics, and your post-launch long-term marketing. So pre-release marketing, you're going to start this as early as possible, and you want to plan out your promotional materials, whether that's physical or digital, that you plan to use, and you want to have them prepared in advance so you can start sharing them. You also want to work on gathering reviews for release day by recruiting book bloggers, beta readers, or review services. And just again, reminder, do not pay for reviews. This can get you in a lot of trouble. These should always be reviews that are being provided at the most in exchange for a free copy of the book, and they should be honest reviews. Do not ask people to review a certain number of stars or provide a certain type of review. You do want to keep track of everyone who agrees to provide an honest review and then follow up with them on release day and nudge them to actually get their review posted. And then also ask them to send you a link to their review, not only so you can make sure that they actually did it, but so you can share that review on your social media. And then make sure that you thank reviewers who do follow through and keep a list of those who don't. So maybe you may not send them review copies for your next release if they never actually posted a review. Now, another pre-release marketing option is to make a book trailer. This can be posted on YouTube for long-term availability and then shared on social media in marketing posts. Video does consistently get more interaction on social media than pictures and text, so it's a really good avenue. And if you're not comfortable making one yourself, they are generally fairly inexpensive to have someone put together for you. Now, setting up your book as a pre-order is another marketing option. Not every author is going to employ this. It just kind of depends on what you want to do with your marketing plan. Setting up a pre-order does require you to have your book files and cover ready further in advance, but it also gives you a link to use in your marketing as well. It allows readers to buy your book when they're interested instead of hoping that they're going to remember to buy it on release day or after it releases. Blog tours are not as popular as they once were, but they still can be useful for boosting your overall visibility. They're typically not very helpful for producing sales. So you want to evaluate where your budget is and where it's going to be most effectively spent before paying for a blog tour. And lastly, if you plan to host any in-person events, you want to set these up several months in advance and make sure your book files will be ready early enough to be able to order copies of your book in time for the events. So next stage is release day marketing. So release day sales within the first 30 days are important for rankings on various retailer sites. And this is the time that you really want to focus on ads and promotions and social media marketing. And make sure that you're watching your ads closely to see which ones are working best and turn off or adjust those that aren't keeping up with the others or aren't being as effective or efficient. You also want to send out your email newsletter to blast your subscribers on release day. And then a few days to a week later, you can send out another blast as a reminder. But you only want to send that to those who didn't already open the first email. You don't want to annoy your subscribers by just emailing them nonstop. It's also a good idea to ask readers to post an honest review when they finish reading as a way to help you reach more readers who might like your book. It often helps to mention that a review doesn't need to be more than a few sentences, so readers don't feel intimidated. Another option for release day marketing is to host a release party. A lot of these are done virtually now, but you may, if you have an active community with readers and other writers, you may do an in-person event as well to celebrate the release. Digital options for release parties include Facebook parties, live streaming a reading or a Q&A session, doing a Twitter chat, maybe doing a live YouTube video or a reel on Instagram, utilizing TikTok to do some videos there, host some giveaways. And in-person options, you might do like a traditional book signing and an author reading, or maybe just have a party with your friends and any local readers that you have. And you can also schedule or maybe have a PR company set up for you, blog features, radio or podcast interviews, or maybe even some media appearances if that's something that's open to you. Traditional media does tend to be less effective for launch marketing than avenues like podcast interviews and live social media experiences. That's just not as much where the readers live today. A lot of that has shifted to online, so you might want to focus your efforts there. You can also offer incentives for readers to buy your book, such as giving away a free gift like a bonus short story or a signed book plate, maybe even a digital autograph. But make sure that you're checking terms and services on retailers regarding incentives, especially if you're going to do any asking for reviews. Just Amazon's really strict about this. So you always want to be careful with anything like that before you implement it. And then it's also important to update all of your social media and websites with links and graphics that have your book cover, the purchase link for whatever book it is, new artwork that you might have that's related to your book. And then just update your social media bios with a link to your book if you didn't already have that done with the pre-order. And you may only do this temporarily if your regular link is like to your author website or your newsletter or something specific that you want to promote on a regular basis. After you've gotten through the initial launch, now you want to start thinking about post-release and longer-term marketing efforts to keep the momentum going. Because if you've done a really good release, you've got some great sales, you're, staying up on the rankings, you want to keep that going as long as possible. You kind of want to divide your post-launch marketing into two different phases. And this is going to take consistent marketing for several months that's focused on your new release, but it's not going to be as intensive as that first couple days after your launch. So in the months after release, you're going to make use of free social media group posts and paid ads as, whatever your time commitment and your budget allows you to do. You can schedule newsletter spots with companies that permit new releases. Sometimes the new releases are a little bit tougher because a lot of them you have to have a minimum number of reviews. So if you know that, really try to shoot for getting those reviews in as early as possible. Once a month, maybe remind your newsletter that you have a new release out and share those links with them again. Especially try to catch anyone who hasn't opened the newsletter recently, but you think might be interested in your book. Share positive reviews that people are posting. share blog posts. Maybe you've done some promotional posts on either your blog or other people's blogs. Get those out on your social media accounts. And then just share any other pertinent links that you cultivated during the previous 2 phases. And then just continue to seek out reviews, especially build those up as much as you can on the various retailer sites. And utilize your street team if you set one up, or just your really loyal fans that you have. Try to get them to share and post about your new release, say what they liked about it, or recommend it to friends that they think might like it as well. And then you're going to just keep up with the post-release marketing with the idea of keeping the book fresh in readers' minds, trying to incorporate it into what you're already doing with your other books. But if this is your first book, you can blend it in with updates on your next project while still promoting, your book to help keep readers excited for more. And long-term marketing is kind of phase 2 of post-launch. You really do want to have a plan for just keeping that book present in your readers' minds as long as you can. So you're going to have some different daily, weekly, monthly, spreading it out over time. Some of the daily things that you're going to continue to do and just work this book into what you were already doing is, again, your social media posts that you're going to be putting out daily to every couple of days. Schedule as much as you can in advance to cut down on the time it takes. And then really just focus in on the social media platforms that you have found to be most effective as you've been leading up to the launch, and work within your time, again, your schedule, and your budget. And once you have your posts going out, don't forget to check back in throughout the week and engage on anyone who's commenting or sending messages, sharing. Somebody shares your post, say like it and say thanks. That's always appreciated. And if you see that there's conversation starting, or your book's being talked about in a certain space, join in. And, keep that conversation going, keep people interested, and, try to just continue to share that momentum as much as possible. If you are going to do a blog, just keep an eye out for content ideas and plan your schedule where you can include that new release. If you aren't going to, blog weekly or on a regular basis, and you're going to try different avenues, just always keep an eye out for topics and ideas that you can integrate into some reason to connect that back to your new release book. And then start pinning on Pinterest and engaging with followers by liking and pinning their pins. You want to post up to 5 pins a day has shown to help grow traffic on Pinterest, if that's something that works with your schedule. And then another good tactic for keeping that long-term marketing going is just keeping a running list of links, stories, pictures, interesting quotes, inspirational things that you can kind of file away and then share as needed on your social media accounts. And also just, curate a list of posts that get good engagement, and you can reshare those every so often. And really try to answer messages and emails that you receive in a timely manner. And just sometimes all it is just a quick thank you for checking in, or, saying someone liked your book. But getting those responses really does mean a lot to readers. So try to keep up with that as best you can. And then just, daily you're going to review those analytics of posts and ads that you have going, so you know what's working and what's not, and then just adjust accordingly. And then always just be on the lookout for new information and opportunities. Keep learning, keep figuring out what works and what doesn't. Because marketing is very fluid and it changes a lot, so you really want to try to stay on top of it. Now, some of the weekly tasks that you want to look at are, if you are going to be blogging, make sure that you're keeping content going for your blog, keeping up with your schedule as much as possible. And then you also want to focus on some small promotions, things that work well just on a weekly basis. And that might be, smaller giveaways like a $5 gift card, a bookmark, things like that, small prizes, little fun things that maybe match with your book, different things that you can send out. You may be doing a weekly newsletter, send that out on your regular schedule, and then try to think up questions that you can pose to readers on your social media. You don't want to inundate them with questions every day, but maybe things that you can interact with if you're working on a new project and you need a name or a location to set it. engage with them. Let them give you their ideas. You don't necessarily have to take any of their ideas if it doesn't end up working, but including them in that process can really help building that community. And then you want to break up your promotional posts, because even though during the launch that can be a little bit more promotion heavy than normal, you do want to fall back into that 25% rule of not inundating your followers and readers with promotional posts. Rotate through your books if you have several books, including that new release in the rotation. Work it in. And then keep in mind any upcoming promotions that you have that you need to submit to ahead of time. Plan those accordingly and know when you need to submit those. And then review your ad performance over the week and see if anything needs to be changed or turned on or off, if something is or isn't working. And then always be on the lookout for cross-promotion opportunities with other authors through newsletter swaps or maybe social media exchanges, liking and sharing each other's posts, that sort of thing. And then send out any relevant email blasts if you have some news that wasn't in the last newsletter. And just remember, don't overuse the email blasts. They should really be important, time-sensitive things that you're sending out. And then once a week, just try to work into your schedule a day that works for you to tackle a lot of this, to schedule your posts, to review your analytics, to set up new opportunities and promotions for the upcoming months. It's nice to be able to have that one dedicated couple of hours where you can sit down and focus on all of this rather than trying to, fit it in here and there throughout the week. Now, some of the monthly marketing tasks that you want to keep an eye on and plan for is maybe doing a slightly bigger promotion. That might be maybe a banner ad or getting on a list service or hosting a giveaway with a slightly bigger prize, like maybe instead of a $5 gift card, a $10 to $20 gift card, or a paperback book that's signed, or some sort of memento or promotional item like a mug, things like that are going to be a little bit stronger of a draw for people to engage in. Also, if you're doing your newsletter on a monthly basis, make sure to get that put together and scheduled to send out. Include anything relevant that's coming up for the following month or things that happened in the previous month that weren't, necessarily worthy of an email blast. Continue to seek out reviews from readers and fans, from maybe bloggers or review services, and set a realistic goal for how many reviews you want to get each month through these direct interactions, and just try to find effective, efficient ways to gather those reviews each month. And then I suggest focusing on one book or one series each month. Plan your social media posts and giveaways and offers and free books and Pinterest activity, all of those sorts of things. Center it around one specific book or series. And that can just kind of help focus in what you're doing so you don't feel like you're all over the place if you have several different books that you're trying to promote. And then if you can, incorporate any holidays or events into your posts and promotions. Obviously, if you have a book that's centered around a holiday, that's probably the best month to promote that book in. But other things, that might not be as obvious. Your birthday month, you might, promote your favorite book or your first book that came out or a book that released in your birthday month. Just trying to find fun things to connect to a holiday or an event or a milestone that you can center some of those promotions and posts around. Helps to get a little bit more attraction and interaction with those. And then you want to plan for the next month's ads and create any graphics you're going to need so you're not trying to do it in the moment later on. And set up any newsletter list spots, review your monthly analytics, and make adjustments as needed from there. Now, lastly, as far as tasks, you really want to take a look at your yearly marketing plan overall. And this is where you can kind of take a step back and look at where you want to schedule in maybe 2 to 4 big marketing pushes for the year. These may be centered around a new release you have planned, a holiday, a specific event. A lot of authors like to do their own birthdays. It doesn't matter what it is, but you want to look at where you can have those bigger marketing pushes a few times a year. And that's just going to help gain more interest in the moment, expand your reach to new readers and fans. You want to be as creative as possible with these events and posts and prizes. Really try to make these specific and fun and engaging and interactive. This is where you might want to try some new tactics, just see how it goes. Be really creative with your giveaway items, how you're going to present your promotions and posts. These are something that's kind of a one-shot thing a lot of the time. So if something specific doesn't necessarily work, that's fine. Take it off the plan for the next big event. This can be a great time to test out a lot of new things. When you're looking at your yearly schedule, this is also where you want to plan your release schedule for future books. If you can, it's nice to spread them out throughout the year, but, don't put huge time constraints that aren't going to be realistic for you. Sometimes you just kind of have to roll with it and adjust as you go. And then you also want to just set some goals for the next year, and maybe number of reviews, growth of followers on your social media, getting so many books out for the next year. See what those goals are, and then make a plan for how you're going to reach those goals as well. So the last section of things that I want to talk about to wrap up this big talk on book marketing is setting up events. Now that we're largely out of COVID, most events are kind of taking place again, a lot of them in person or a combination of in person and online. You're getting back to where we have those opportunities to have in-person events in our local communities or bigger events that are bringing readers and authors in from other communities around the country. These are really great opportunities to engage and really make those in-person personal connection. So some of the events that you might think of for in-person marketing events are, the traditional book signing for new releases or maybe special events, setting up speaking engagements like author talks with maybe schools or libraries or author groups, maybe giving an informational lecture, reaching out to community organization events. Really, any event that allows vendors can be great for authors to participate in. You may see what local writing groups are operating in your area and if they would like to possibly have you as a guest speaker. Art collaborative events like art walks, art fairs, festivals, those can also be really great events to participate in or be a vendor at. Craft fairs are really great as well for selling books or book-related items that you might have or have made. And you look for these at like schools, senior centers, maker markets, that kind of thing. Look into community festivals. A lot of these are seasonal. But you might also look at like Renaissance festivals, kids-oriented festivals. A lot of them allow vendors or maybe do some sort of like storytelling events that you can participate in. And then also consider doing some sort of informational presentations. These may be at like specific writing conferences that you can apply to be a lecturer or a speaker at. Also look at Comic-Cons or literature-oriented events. Those can be great opportunities as well. If you want to go the route of setting up a traditional book signing, don't limit yourself to just hosting it at a bookstore. Those can be great places as well, but especially if you live in a smaller town, maybe you don't have bookstores. Big box stores or local stores. I live in a smaller town and I'm very limited on my choices in bookstores here. So it's nice to kind of expand those ideas of where you might have a bookstore. And also, chain bookstores often don't work with indie authors because there are buyback restrictions on their books, and they may not be set up to take consignments. So that just might not be a very good option if you're an indie author. Local stores are usually more flexible and offer a better royalty split on books sold during a book signing or on consignment books. The ones that I've worked with in the past, a 60-40 split has been pretty common when especially with indie bookstores, when books are taken in on consignment. If you want to branch out from bookstores, you can pitch having an event at libraries, restaurants, or cafes, maybe a business related to the book's theme. When you're working for a nonprofit organization or an event center, you might need to rent the space or give a percentage of the sales to the venue or the owner. So keep that in mind as you're negotiating. That might be something that you have to discuss. And be sure to book your signing, 1 to 2 months in advance minimum, longer if possible. Venues or different organizations who hold events regularly need plenty of time to fit you into the schedule. So if you're trying to plan this, especially like during release time and you want it to be at a specific time, get in there and plan that ahead as much as possible. You also want to give yourself time to make sure that you will have your books available. So maybe not on release day if you're not sure you can have books that quickly. Just try to take into account all the moving parts and plan accordingly. If you want to venture into setting up speaking engagements, you don't have to wait for someone to come to you and ask you to speak for their group at their group or organization meeting. You can prepare a presentation and pitch yourselves to groups. Author talks or informational presentations are great options when you don't necessarily have a new release that you're promoting or anything specific that you're celebrating, but you still want to stay active in the community. So you can pitch yourself to bookstores, libraries, charity events, schools, Comic-Cons, writing conferences, or even festivals. You want to have a topic already ready to pitch, so you can write out like a 100-word synopsis of the content and have a sample ready for consideration. Don't just talk about your book. Most places aren't going to be all that interested in hearing about your book for an hour or more. You want to have something else that you're going to talk about. So whether that's focusing on specific issues that your book deals with, or talking about, writing in general, or a book-related topic that you feel comfortable speaking on, branch out from just talking about, this is my book and this is how I wrote it, and, that sort of thing. You do want to charge a speaking fee or ask to sell books at the event in lieu of payment of a speaking fee. And when you're, kind of thinking about marketing in general and setting up especially these in-person events, I like this quote from Seth Godin that says, people do not buy goods and services, they buy relationships, stories, and magic. So that's what you're trying to cultivate, especially in person when you're doing events. Really focus on building those networks and communities, especially if you're going out into your own local community. Just be very aware of how you put yourself out there. Be professional, be respectful, and make it about the experience, not just about you and your book and selling your book to people. So while marketing can be intimidating and time-consuming, the more you focus on building those relationships with readers, the more success and satisfaction you're going to experience throughout the process. That was a lot to cover for marketing. I hope it was helpful to those of you who are listening, and that you're able to find some aspects of it that are going to help you work on your marketing plan, get your books out there, try some new tactics, and really just start building up your platform and your audience and finding success. So thank you everyone for listening. If this was helpful to you, I do encourage you to rate and review the podcast on whatever platform you're listening on. I'm always happy to get new suggestions for podcast episode topics or interviews. If you have a particular author that you would like me to reach out to, I would love those suggestions. Welcome to Author Life Podcast, where myself and guest authors share their stories, offer tips and advice, and share our writing, publishing, and marketing knowledge. I'm your host, Delcherie Gladden. Thank you again for listening, and I'll be back next week with a new topic. Thanks again for listening to Author Life Podcast. For more information on the podcast or guest authors, check out the links in the show description. If there's a topic you'd like to learn more about, find me online and send me suggestions anytime.